again, another Bet Surge Sports Show. Friday evening, kind of previewing this weekend of college basketball. I'm going to get into college football playoff, upcoming things, Army Navy game. It might even give you a little bit of NFL info too here. Getting it kicked off, obviously, huge day Sunday last week with all of the news with the college football playoff coming out. Matt, what was your reaction to the whole Notre Dame situation?
I honestly thought they acted like a bunch of crybabies, to be totally honest. Yeah, I think the committee went about it in the wrong way. They should have. It's tough to justify Miami jumping over Notre Dame when both of them didn't play that week. So I thought they should have done it the week before after Miami played Pitt, and they beat Pitt by more points than Notre Dame beat Pitt by. So that would be your time to jump Miami over Notre Dame. And then we're probably still having a discussion about it, but it's not as big where, you jump to school when both schools were idle. So that was a little odd. I think they went
Yeah, I
about it
guess
the wrong way.
my takeaway from that was, head to head doesn't matter until you're right next to one another. Is basically, what my takeaway was is that if you got the same record, and they're side by side, that is when the head to head matters, but not really until that point. Thought I totally agree. Notre Dame is very soft in the way that they handled it. What I found to be really interesting was all of their bitterness was at the ACC when I think their better argument was, why did Bama stay the same after getting
Right.
embarrassed and BYU dropped? Ultimately, I think that is what their gripe should have been because it's I get the whole not penalizing people for conference championships, but it's also I think it's one thing to lose a game like SMU did last year in the ACC championship.
Yeah, that was a
Very
walk-off
competitive.
field goal
Yeah,
for that
just
one.
like a shootout versus, Alabama with -3 rushing yards. It's a totally different scenario.
Right.
That I just found it to be very interesting. Going into last week, a lot of these people talking about, conference championships don't matter, can't be penalized for a game that that other people aren't playing. But it's also if you're not competitive, I think that should be a stain on your resume, especially. If anybody has an argument in the conference championship thing, honestly, I think it's BYU with their quarterback being hurt. You know, like
There's also one very easy way to solve all of this. Notre Dame could have just won the football game.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
or they could
I
join
get
conference,
you. You're angry. You probably did. If we're talking the 12 best teams, they're definitely one of them. But with how it's set up, with your top 5 highest rated conference champions, makes it a little tougher. But
yeah,
you had
no
the game.
pride
You
in
had
that.
the game in front of you.
Yeah, the ACC not getting the conference championship or champion team in, I think that literally, proves that if Notre Dame was in the ACC, it wouldn't have been hard to win that game.
Right.
They'd be in the playoff now if they were.
They wouldn't get enough money for themselves.
Yeah, the beggars can't be choosers.
But I think they've already started looking at reviewing the tiebreaker scenarios for next year for the ACC.
Yeah,
is what I've heard.
And it's going to be really interesting ACC wise, just because next year it's not a uniform 9. Some are still 8, some are still 9. So
right, which doesn't make any sense, but
complete shit show once again.
Right.
But looking at some of this slate of games here, obviously Bama Oklahoma is the smallest spread at that. Oklahoma plus 1.5. What would you have a certain take on this one that you like?
Yeah, it opened Oklahoma minus 1.5, flipped again. Now we're at Bama minus 1.5. I like Bama in this game. I know the last time we saw them out, they got dominated by Georgia. They also lost to Oklahoma previously, which forget the line on that game, but like Bama in that game against Oklahoma, Bama outgained them by 200 plus yards, right? So Bama was able to move the ball up and down the field, just couldn't punch it in, and had a couple turnovers. I think they had 3 turnovers that game. So it's not doing you any favors. But Bama has shown before they were able to move it up and down on this Oklahoma team. So I'll take Bama here in a little revenge spot in Oklahoma.
Yeah, no, I like that one. That's obviously no big game, closest one of next weekend. I agree with you there. I think this one's ultimately a huge toss up, but and then looking at Miami and Texas A&M, I'm sure I know what your take is here, but
Yeah, very interesting game.
This past week I made 2 wagers on the college football playoff, and they were both to win outright, and one was Texas A&M, and one was Georgia. So kind of hedging my bet there that one of those 2 does it. But I don't think this Miami team is that great when they play good opponents. And I think Texas A&M, they've had quite a while to sit on that Texas loss. I don't see any way they possibly lose this one.
Yeah. So what's striking to me is this is either depending on how you want to grade Texas's defensive line, this is probably the best defensive line Texas A&M has played this year, with Texas being number 2. You could probably flip-flop those. They're both going to have NFL players drafted from that defensive line. But Texas A&M struggled to move the ball against Texas. So I want to see how they hold up. Texas A&M has a good offensive line, but see how they hold up against these, NFL guys like Bain. So that's where I'm looking right now. I don't have a play yet, but it's going to be one on the lines of scrimmage for sure.
Yeah, that is a really good point about Miami's defense. I think if Miami has a struggle, it's in that I think the book is out there on how to beat Carson Beck, and it's to make him throw a lot. Literally what Jeff Brom did to him is exactly what, the book's out there on how to beat him. So I think this one is a close one, but I don't think Texas A&M loses is my initial take on this one. I thought this was pretty crazy getting a G5 SEC matchup twice in a year. Tulane and Ole Miss.
I would have liked,
and the spread was like, I want to say right at what it was initially too.
That one was like 12.5, 11 the first time. I would have liked them to switch A&M in Ole Miss just so I don't have to see a rematch.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not a true rematch. We have different coaching changes for Ole Miss. But I would have liked them to do something with the seeding where we didn't have to get a rematch
there. Yeah, no, I totally agree there. I don't know if you remember or not, but this matchup earlier in the year screwed our first ever college football playoff ladder. Shout out to Jackson on that one.
Tulane got
he was taking Tulane money line in that one. So
Tulane got shelled.
His karma for not being here tonight. We're going to talk about him a little bit.
It was a bad pick.
Yeah, it was terrible. We even took an alternate spread that was it 19 or 21? Like it was plus a bunch, and they just totally got their ass kicked.
Lost by 35.
Tulane did. Yeah, that was a rough one there for Mr. Tucker. I think that in this one, I think his spread's honestly probably a really tough line just because I think it's going to be about what it's at. I don't think they lose by 35 again to the same team. I would give, Tulane slight coaching advantage here in this one, but ultimately I don't think their team is built to, withstand Ole Miss. And not sure what your take is on this Ole Miss team, but I thought it was really interesting. It seems like the way that they've rallied post Lane leaving, and kind of as that all happened.
Right. I think when they did make Pete Golding the head coach and, right away made him the head coach, I thought they did a good job. And I thought it was very cool that they, all rallied behind him. I think that I think if they played this week, if they played that game this weekend, or a week after Lane Kiffin leaves, I think it's a little bit of a different story. I think probably a lot of that energy, a lot of that juice, by the time we get to this game, it's going to be sucked out. Right? You can rally behind the guy, but now you got to sit there for 2.5 weeks before you go
watch him be
play.
the talking point of everything. Yeah.
Right. So I know the offensive coordinator, Charlie Weiss Jr., I know he's still working with Ole Miss for the bowl prep, for the college football playoff prep. So I just don't really know what to expect from, a first time head coach in this big of a spot, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure the offense is going to remain fine. Like, they didn't lose any players because of this so far. Still have their quarterback, still have Kejuan Lacey, the running back, who's been great this year. But could we see some coaching mishaps, some, early timeouts, whatever, some boneheaded stuff that we sometimes see from first year or first game head coaches, right? This is on the biggest stage you could possibly get for your first ever game that you're coaching. So I'd probably give the edge here to Tulane's coach Summerall, but again, he also has one foot out the door with Florida. He's coaching for them. He's coaching for them, but he's got to work. He's got to work the portal. He's got to work on bringing in his staff. Got to get the binder ready for winter workouts, spring workouts, whatever it may be. So I don't know. I don't have a good feel for this one quite yet.
It's
the line feels right though.
My take on it is all pretty much that I think a lot of pressure for this current playoff situation kind of falls on either Tulane or JMU to pull off a huge upset, just in the sense of I think the idea of adding that G5 or I guess top 5 conference winner was to almost create a March Madness sort of effect. Knocking off the huge underdog winning and the Cinderella story. But, football is obviously a very different sport as far as the realm of possibility. So, I'm very torn on that one. This Oregon JMU game, I think we saw earlier in the year just how free I would describe it that JMU can play, just in the sense of they know that they're playing now with house money. Being that they really weren't the best G5 conference winner, but because the ACC was so bad that they got lucky. So I would just expect them to really come out with some trickery against Oregon. I don't think they beat Oregon, but I expect this one, if anything, to be a little more competitive than people think.
Yeah, I disagree, but I think it's whatever Dan Lanning is going to make it, right? If he wants to run the ball, lead clock, get out of there with a win by 17, he can do that. If he wants to go balls to the wall here, they can win by 35, in my opinion. JMU's played one Power 4 team this year, which was Louisville, lost by 14. Now, that game was probably a little closer than the final score would indicate, because Louisville was not good in that game at all, especially on the offensive line of scrimmage. But, even from Louisville to Oregon, there's a massive step up in athlete and the type of guys they recruit. They're getting 4 stars, 5 stars all across their offensive line and defensive line. So Oregon should have a couple more. They should have some guys back. I know they were missing a couple wide receivers. They've been pretty depleted there for the past 6 games, I think. So hopefully get some of those guys back. But also, your 21-point favorites, you could probably afford to rest those guys still and still get a win. So I think that's what it comes down to. Are they going to play at full strength, and are they going to play at full strength for 4 full quarters, or even 3.5 full quarters? But again, like you said, it's house money for these guys at
Yeah,
JMU.
it's
So
dangerous. Never
right,
know.
they got nothing to lose. If they lose by 35, doesn't
Who
matter.
cares? Yeah. Um,
They're gonna lay it all out there.
yeah, no, that's exactly how I see it. I'm interested to see how that one shapes up. That definitely, kind of concludes all of those matches for next week. Looking at this Army Navy game tomorrow, what's your take on that? Looks like the line's 6.5.
Yeah, I mean, everyone knows. Everyone knows this is a game you just bet the under. Um, but it just gets lower and lower each year. Except last year, I think we were really low, like at 33 one of these years. So I don't know. It'll be an interesting game. On paper, Navy's been the much better team this year, but you know these teams know each other so well that they've been prepping for this game for a long time. Navy comes in 9-2, Army comes in 6-5. Navy closed out the year winning 2 games. Army won its last game versus UTSA, which UTSA was kind of a juggernaut at home the past 4 or 5 years. Army went in there, beat them. That's a lot of good momentum coming into this week. Which, what's that? It's 2 weeks off though for them. For Army team, I mean both teams 2 weeks off. Navy comes in like a 2-day rest advantage. They played on Thanksgiving night against Memphis, beat Memphis. I don't know. I would tend to lean here towards Navy in this one. I think I saw 5.5 earlier in the week. Now it's up at 6.5. But again, I mean, this game could be a field goal game. This game could be a 10-point game. You just don't really know. They know each other so well. So I'm excited to see how this plays out. This is my favorite game to watch every year. Pageantry behind it all. Big spectacle, big broadcast. It's awesome.
Yeah, and for a person who's a big fan of betting unders in general, I think it fits you pretty well. Um, Looking at a little bit of basketball for tomorrow, with some of these matchups there, not seeing a ton of lines that are out yet, or they are on ESPN. Awesome.
They
Um,
are. Yeah, we have all lines out yet, or out so far.
yeah. Really looks like your big matchup is Texas Tech and Arkansas tomorrow.
Yeah, we have a couple big time ones at night too.
Oh yeah, Illinois,
Bama, Arizona,
Nebraska.
UCLA, Gonzaga. Even to the casual fan, won't catch your eye, but Nebraska and Illinois too.
Yeah,
I
that
think that one's
Nebraska
at
team
3, but both
shocked
ranked
me.
teams there.
Yeah, they. I don't know. Did you watch it earlier this week? That Nebraska, Wisconsin game. Like
I
they.
did.
Yeah,
I did. I had Nebraska in that one, and they just killed them.
yeah, 35-point win there. Or
I looked up
of that.
I was doing some stuff on my laptop. I looked up, 4 or 5 times, probably throughout an 8 to 10 minute stretch, and that whole time Wisconsin had 39 points.
Yeah,
So
it's insane. Yeah, I'm just kind of looking at those games tomorrow. Looks like the spread on our game 16.5. Obviously, it's a lot of points, but it can happen. We'll make a play on that one in the morning. We'll send out a trifecta or a duo there. Michigan State, Penn State. Not sure what your take is there, but I think that MSU minus 12.5 is looking pretty good to me, especially after that Duke game. I think they bounced back there, but this Texas Tech Arkansas game is probably the most intriguing to me, just because this whole Cal question of like, does he still have it? Obviously, when he played us, he did. But how well does it translate road environment? Obviously, he's got a young team again. Do you have any thoughts on either of those?
yeah, so I don't have any thoughts for Michigan State, Penn State, but first bet I made when I saw the lines came out was Texas Tech -1. Now I think this one, yep, we got a neutral site game if I remember correctly. It's in Dallas, so quasi home game for Texas Tech. Still in the state.
Yeah,
Not as much travel as Arkansas, but I like Texas Tech
not either
here.
way, but yeah,
What'd you say?
not bad either way,
Yeah,
really.
right.
Um,
Not terrible. It'll be at American Airlines Center or Arena, wherever the Mavs play. But like we see on paper, Arkansas number 17 in the country, Texas Tech number 16 in the country. Arkansas last time out, Fresno State. They played Louisville, Fresno State. Now here against Texas Tech. Um, Texas Tech, on the other hand, they got boat raced by Purdue in, I forget what Feast Week tournament that was. Feels like a month ago at this point. But since then, won three in a row, although it was to New Orleans, LSU, and Wyoming. But I'm going to back Texas Tech here. JT Toppin, big man from Texas Tech, in the running for, he was, I think it was Big 12 Player of the Year, preseason Player of the Year. He was awarded. I think he probably wins that award, even though he's up against AJ DeBansta from BYU. But I think it'll be Toppins to lose here. He's also in the conversation for the Wooden Award. So give me Texas Tech, big game, neutral site. Think they get it done here.
yeah, really interesting game. Not shouldn't be close at all, but Rick Pitino plays Iona tomorrow at noon. It's kind of funny him playing his old team there. Granted, I don't think there's any bitterness there. It was very obvious, stepping stone. He kind of found his way back to basketball in that, but 27.5 points. Interested to see how that one goes.
Yeah.
Um,
I'd look at the under there.
yeah,
No play on it yet, but I mean we see it time and time again when we get to the March Madness tournament. These are new gyms. Obviously, St. John's plays in Madison Square Garden a ton throughout the year. They don't play all their games there, but they do play a lot of their games there. New gym, big gym, so might mess up. Might see a little bit of shooting regression in those gyms that we normally see during March Madness.
yeah. No, that one makes sense for sure. I did not realize that North Carolina is somehow ranked 14. Very mid team there, I feel like, but is what it is. Looking at some of these others, it's Illinois, Nebraska. Do you have any big thoughts on this one?
Yeah, let me find it real quick.
It's not -9.5 for Illinois.
Whoa.
It's a lot of points for
That's
hot.
not where I expected it to open up. Nebraska's a hot team right now, man.
10
They're
and
10-0, undefeated. Illinois has been good. They've been battle tested. They've been playing very well recently. They did lose to UConn by 13. They didn't look good in that game at all, but they bounced back. They beat Tennessee by, 13? They beat Tennessee by 13 and then go on the road this week, beat Ohio State. So Illinois is a very good team. Nebraska is very hot. I'd lean towards Nebraska here. I think they got something special over there in Lincoln.
Yeah, they were so hot against Wisconsin. Interested to see that one there. As far as the Arizona Bama game, any take there?
We got 1.5 points. Neutral. Yep, neutral site in Birmingham, Alabama. So
Very neutral.
yeah, call it a neutral site. One team still traveling across the country to get there. So I don't know. This line seems pretty short to me. I would have probably pegged it between 3.5 and 4.5. We know both these teams can score. Both these teams want to push the pace. So I'd look at the over here. I know it's high. It's 178.5. But with 1.5 point spread, if you're Alabama, the likelihood of you covering this number, very, very small. So if you're gonna play Alabama on the spread, just play them on the money line. But I'd look at the over here.
Yeah, no, I think that one makes perfect sense. Just as much as they both like to push the pace there. And then Gonzaga, UCLA, the late night game. That's 11:30 tip.
Did
Whoa,
you see what UCLA's coach said the other day
I did not.
about this game? Well, he's really mad. So this one's in, again, neutral site in Seattle, which is basically a home game for Gonzaga. But he was very, very upset that they were starting this game at 10:30 or 8:30 local time.
So it's too late, or
Yeah, too late for him. It said his dad. I don't know if this was a real quote. I could be getting duped here, but basically said his dad is going to have to take 2 naps on Saturday to be able to stay up and watch the game. So it's Mick Cronin. He's known for being a hothead. So
very much so. Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm very glad we don't have him as our coach, but his brother, I don't know if you know or not, but is a horse handicapper.
No.
And it's Fat Bald Guy Racing on Twitter, and apparently he's like one of the best in the business at it. Kind of funny, but yeah,
I would lean Gonzaga here if I had to pick. I like this Gonzaga team. Got a
Yeah.
future on them.
if they play like they did against Kentucky, it's going to be a very bright year for them.
Yeah, I think anyone in the country could probably do that against Kentucky right about now.
Right. Yeah. And it looks like they play.
Indiana,
That's a
4.5
interesting
points. You know who's calling the game?
Who is?
Dick Vitale and Charles Barkley.
Wow.
Yep. That's going to be a fun one. Probably not much basketball talk there, but
Yeah.
will be some good laughs. I'll take Indiana money line here
Yeah.
until Kentucky can prove it to me.
If that Indiana team plays like they did against Louisville, being that physical, I think this Kentucky team's not going to know how to handle it. But we will see how. I think that the whistle and that one's going to play a big deal, and just how it goes because and at the same time, I think the pace in this one will be very interesting too because in a sense, I think that Indiana wants to be like a Louisville that's really pushing it. The talent's not necessarily to that same degree. So I think when that's matched up with this Mark Pope offense, it'll be interesting to see how Tempa wears on the game.
Yeah, I think Indiana did a good job too down the stretch of that game, hitting some big time threes. Now, can they keep it up? You know, they found that one guy. I think he hit
14 points in the second half.
Yeah, right. I think he hit. It was like 5 of 7 from 3, and it was a majority of those were in the second half.
Yeah.
So can they create open shots for their guys? Be interesting to watch.
Yeah, and that's I don't know if you'd call that a rivalry or not, but I think leaning into the Indiana money line thing, I think they or their fans care more about that game than Kentucky necessarily. So I would assume them to play up for that one.
Yeah, I mean, until
honestly,
Kentucky can cover a spread, there's no reason to back this team. I faded them the other night against, I don't even know that school, but it was North Carolina Central.
yeah,
Got 44.5. That was easy money.
yeah,
That's the recipe.
yeah. It really is. I wish they could both lose, but somebody's got to come out a winner. So I hope it's Indiana. Looking at this NFL slate this week, I think some interesting stuff as we get a little later on into the year. Obviously, huge matchup, Bills Patriots, and then 1.5 point spread favoring Buffalo in New England. I believe this one's to clinch the division. Is that correct?
Yes, for New England. They win
Yeah.
this game, they clinch the division.
Yeah.
So t-shirt and hat game out in Foxborough, but not this Sunday. Give me the Bills.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And that at that 1.5, you might as well just take the spread. I think the Texans might cover this 9.5 against the Cardinals this weekend. They look really, really damn good. I might place a bet this upcoming week, just a little Super Bowl future there. I think that could be a sleeper if that defense keeps playing.
They got to figure out that offense.
Yeah, no, they do have to figure out that one. AFC is interesting, dude. Like I don't think it's nearly what it was. And
I think if I did the math correctly, like the winner of the AFC North could be like 8 and 9.
Yeah,
like below 500.
that is insane. And then are the Chiefs fully out of it?
No, but if the Chargers win a single game, they would have the tiebreaker over them. Like any game down the stretch. So the Chiefs have to win out, and the Chargers, I think it's lose out.
Oh wow!
To be able to get in over the Chargers.
Yeah, it's almost impossible then. Yeah,
right. And then the Chargers, the last week of the season, play the Broncos, and if the Broncos can keep this up, they'll most likely rest their starters that week 18.
It's pretty.
So it could come down to the Chargers versus a Broncos team that's resting all their guys that could keep the Chiefs out of the playoffs.
Yeah,
right.
That is crazy.
But again, this line makes no sense. 5.5 for a team that looks beyond dead. So I'll be taking the Chiefs here.
Yeah,
makes no sense.
Yeah, it really does. Yeah, Ravens and Bengals. I think will be an interesting one with those Joe Burrow comments this weekend or this past week.
Yeah, those are weird, man. Those are weird.
Coming from him, who just seemed to be very locked in, all the time.
Did you know when he made those comments, it was his birthday?
No, I did not. Yeah. That's I feel like even worse.
Right.
Yeah. And I thought it was funny, just like the comments of those like threads on X were just talking about like this dude's about to be Andrew Luck,
Yeah.
Hanging the cleats. Yeah, and I mean
you can tell he's not having fun.
The same thing. He's never had an O-line there to help him out, like at all.
What was the stat? I heard the stat. Did you see the sack stat with him and Andrew Luck?
Mm-mm.
I'm not going to be exactly correct on these numbers, but it was like Andrew Luck has played like 13 more games than Joe Burrow, but Joe Burrow's been sacked like 17 more times than Andrew Luck.
Dang.
Which is pretty wild because Andrew Luck did give up football because the injuries, and it just wasn't fun for him anymore. Wasn't a game to him anymore. So, yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, they spent all their money already on him and Jamar Chase, and now he's got no protection.
Yeah. I mean, it's been their whole thing since he's been there, though. None of the Bears, interesting matchup this week. Get to play Shadur. Who seems to be a little bit of a hot streak, but I like the Bears in this. Also took them to win the division. So
there you go. Yeah. That's going to come down to 2 games.
7.5. I mean, if the Titans' sorry-ass offense can put up that many points on the Browns, I think the Bears can do it too.
I didn't give up on my Titans last week. We took
them. No, I think Cam Ward's the answer. I guess it's the next game on here too.
We're looking at – let's just back to that Bears game real quick. We're looking at like -10 wind chill at kickoff.
Chilly.
So, yeah, I don't like to take any favorites that are, 7.5, but I think it'll just be a good old. I think Bears are just going to try to run the ball all game. Win this game any way you can because you got the Packers on deck next week. which could determine the division. I know the Bears have the Lions week 18, but Lions are playing the Rams this week, so I would assume the Rams take care of business there.
Yeah.
So big game. I don't want to touch the number because that doesn't matter. Just got to win any way you can this week.
Yeah, no, I'm happy for the Bears. As bad as y'all struggled, I think it's well deserved. You know,
Yeah,
little happiness. Yeah, no, I think the Titans get absolutely killed this week. I'm not going to be mad if we do. 12.5 points at San Francisco. You know, we didn't lose to Shedeur. Like, you know, I think we avoided just the humiliation in that.
Yeah, that was a big. Because if you remember all like off season, you know, they were working out together. Shedeur was asking him to come hop on a song with him, and he's like, "No, I do football. Like I play football only." So that was, I mean, it was a good game to win for him.
Yeah, no, that would have been just a humiliating loss.
Being the number 1 overall pick, and you know, Shedeur falling as far as he did.
Yeah, granted, I mean, I think the Titans' situation overall, like at least I think Shadeur's got a little bit more to work with talent-wise, but not much.
But the Browns' defense was statistically like way better than the Titans this year.
Yeah, supposed to be, but I don't know. We'll see. Just looking forward to next year in that one. You said you think the Rams take care of business.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, and then,
they've just kind of. I know they lost to the Panthers. Panthers are pretty good at home this year.
Yeah, they're sneaky.
But I think LA, the Rams have just been on another level.
Yeah,
Matthew Stafford probably wins MVP this year. Well, I didn't watch the game last week because it was over early, but 45-17 against the Cardinals last week.
Yeah,
so,
that's insane.
I don't have many thoughts on this number. It's exactly 6 right now, but I think the Rams pull this one out.
Yeah, the Saints-Panthers, I think, will be an interesting one just in the fact of Tyler Shuck finally seems to have woken these New Orleans fans up and they're realizing that he's not a total bust, and that, you know, he's got some talent there. Saints plus 2.5 at home. I'm interested to see how that one goes. Probably place something on the Saints there to see if they can roll any momentum out of that one.
Interesting for the Panthers, I think. If they win this game and then win next week against the Bucs, they would clinch the division.
Really?
Yes, because they've already beaten. Because at that point they've already beaten the Saints twice, where the Bucs only beat them once. So they'd have the tiebreaker. So if Carolina goes 2-0 next 2 games,
got something.
They're winning the division, which is impressive.
Yeah, something to play for on that one. You think Phillip Rivers gets it done?
No.
Or covers, say, against the Seahawks, plus 13.5?
No, that defense is a different animal.
Yeah, no, it really is. Of all the calls they could have made, I just thought it was funny that, like, Andrew Luck is 6 years younger than Phillip Rivers.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't call. Kaepernick didn't get the call.
Yeah, I mean, really could have.
That is just like, there's so many. I know he's probably, like, mentally a lot better than a lot of the guys you could have signed, but the dude's like 44 years old.
Yeah. Now, I think a lot of what that is it seems that he's got quite the friendship with Shane Steichen.
Yeah.
So I imagine that had a factor in it. And I don't know if you saw or not, but Philip's son runs the same like offense with his high school that the Colts do.
I did see that, which obviously cannot be exactly the same because these guys are professionals, but, you know, similar concepts, route concepts, run game concepts. But
yeah, no, I thought that was interesting. What
I don't know how this game could be close.
Yeah, I don't either. Take Seahawks in this one, especially after how last week went for Indy. What do you think about Kyle Pitts last night?
That was big for me.
Yeah.
In a couple fantasy leagues, one of them I had Kyle Pitts. Nice, cool 45 points.
Yeah.
Another one has had Bijan, who I think 29.
Yeah.
So
First week
that
of
was
fantasy
nice. It was the
playoff.
first time like Kyle Pitts has lived up to his potential.
Yeah, no, I really hope that showed him something just because I've got him in both of my dynasty leagues. But the talent's there, and I think London being out just kind of forced him into an interesting spot.
Right.
And I
And
mean, I
it's
think it took a quarterback like Cousins being in there to show, like, this dude's really got the matchup advantage.
right.
Um,
We've seen Kirk Cousins since he's stepped in. Like his favorite target's been Kyle Pitts, whereas Michael Penix, anything goes wrong, he's slinging that ball to Drake London,
yeah,
no matter what. Yeah, I mean with Kirk Cousins, Kyle Pitts has been playing well. He's
yeah,
got 4 touchdowns on the year and had 3 of them last night.
right. Yeah, I hope that he keeps targeting him just so I win our alumni league there. Um,
Yeah, yeah. Well, we're gonna do a lot of complaining at the end of the year. Get another redraft.
yeah, do it. No, that's pretty much all I've got tonight. We'll do something again next week, and get some plays up for you guys tomorrow for Louisville game and then some other stuff. And yeah, that's all I got. I'm gonna end this live.